I still remember the exact second my world tilted. It was 4:47 p.m. on a Thursday. The floor-to-ceiling windows in Mark Harrington's corner office were glowing orange from the setting sun, and the city skyline looked like it was on fire. I had just finished my quarterly presentation, the one I'd stayed up until 3 a.m., perfecting for 3 weeks straight, and my boss was leaning back in his leather chair, fingers steepled, wearing that little half-smirk he saves for when he's about to crush someone's soul. "Keisha," he said, voice dripping with fake sympathy, "you're phenomenal at your job. Truly. Best senior manager we've ever had." I felt it coming, that but, the one that's followed me through 12 years of broken promises and stolen promotions. But director of operations? That seat's different. It requires a certain presence, a fit with the existing leadership team. He paused, looked me dead in the eyes, and delivered the kill shot. "Black women don't become directors here. It's just not how things work at Vanguard, you understand." The air left my lungs, like someone had punched me in the chest. I stared at him. He stared back, completely unbothered. Like he'd just told me the coffee machine was broken, like he hadn't just said the quiet part out loud, like my 12 years of 60-hour weeks and $47 million in revenue and perfect performance reviews meant absolutely nothing. My phone was in my hand, had been the whole meeting, propped up against my notebook like I was taking notes. The voice memo app had been running for 23 minutes and 14 seconds. Every single word recorded. I smiled. Small. Polite. The smile I'd perfected after 12 years in corporate America. The smile that keeps you employed. The smile that keeps you safe. "I understand perfectly, Mark." He nodded, already turning to his monitor. Conversation over. I was dismissed, just another black woman who needed to know her place. But here's what Mark didn't know. Here's what none of them knew. I stopped being naive the day my daddy died, and left me with a mortgage, a 6-year-old daughter, and a stack of bills that could choke a horse. I stopped being naive the first time a white colleague jokingly called me sassy in a meeting. I stopped being naive when they promoted Chad, who can't even spell strategy, over me 3 years in a row. What Mark didn't know was that I'd been keeping receipts. Every email, every recording, every performance review where he wrote, "Keisha exceeds expectations in every category," and then gave the promotion to someone who fit the culture better. Every single one. And I was about to cash them all in. If you've ever been the only black woman in the room, the only one period, you already know how this story starts. You know the weight of being the diversity hire, even when you're the best they've got. But stick with me, hit that subscribe button right now, because this isn't a story about tears. This is a story about what happens when the quiet one finally speaks and the whole building hears her roar. My name is Keisha Monique Thompson. I'm 38 years old, single mom, top performer at Vanguard Financial for 12 years. The one they call when a client is about to walk and they need someone polished to save the account. The one who trained half the directors currently sitting pretty on the 42nd floor with their mahogany desks and stock options. The one who's never been good enough to sit in those chairs herself. Let me paint you the picture of who I was before that Thursday in Mark's office. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. every morning. Make Amaya's lunch, she's 6, loves dinosaurs, refuses to eat anything green unless I tell her it's dragon food. Drop her at school by 7:45, at my desk by 8:15. Last one out most nights, usually around 7 or 8 p.m., sometimes later when we're closing a big deal. My apartment is a 2-bedroom in Silver Spring. Not fancy. The kitchen faucet leaks. The neighbors upstairs sound like they're training for the WWE, but it's mine. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every single dollar comes from my sweat. My daddy, Lawrence Thompson, died when I was 26. Heart attack, dropped dead in the driveway while taking out the trash on a Tuesday morning. He was 54. Left me with his house, his bills, and enough life insurance to bury him proper, but not much else. I was pregnant with Amaya when we lowered him into the ground. Her father? Gone before she was born. Said he wasn't ready to be a dad. Last I heard, he's ready enough to post gym selfies on Instagram and take beach vacations with his new girlfriend. So yeah. I learned early that nobody's coming to save you. You save yourself. You work twice as hard, smile 3 times as much, and you never ever give them a reason to doubt you. For 12 years, that's exactly what I did. Last year alone, I brought in $47 million in new business. Not accounts I inherited, not deals that fell into my lap. Money I hunted down, negotiated, closed. I spent 3 months convincing Meridian Tech to move their entire portfolio to us $23 million. Marcus Chen, their CFO, told me I was the only person at Vanguard who actually listened instead of just pitching. When the Hartwell Group threatened to walk after their previous account manager screwed up their quarterly projections, who did they call? Me. I fixed it in 48 hours, saved a $12 million account, got a fruit basket, and a thanks, Keisha, you're a lifesaver. Email from Mark. No bonus, no promotion, just fruit. I've mentored 14 people in my time at Vanguard. Showed them how to build client relationships, how to read a balance sheet, how to pitch without sounding desperate, how to survive in corporate America when you're not part of the club. 7 of them are directors now. All of them are white. 6 are men. And every single one of them still calls me when they need advice. Mark Harrington became my boss 4 years ago. 52 years old, salt and pepper hair that he pays $200 to get cut every 2 weeks, golf handicap in the single digits, went to Duke, his dad went to Duke, his grandfather went to Duke. There's a photo in his office of all 3 of them wearing Duke alumni gear, arms around each other, big white teeth smiling like they own the world. Because they do. Mark calls the cleaning staff, "you people." I've heard him say it a dozen times. "Can you people please come by earlier? I have a meeting at 7. He had a Confederate flag sticker on his truck, one of those heritage not hate ones, until the George Floyd protests in 2020. Someone complained to HR. He scraped it off, but not before taking a photo of it and posting on Facebook with the caption, "Cancel culture strikes again." He thinks diversity means hiring one Asian guy named David every 5 years and patting yourself on the back for being so progressive. And he's been systematically destroying my career since day one. It started small. 6 months into working under Mark, I wore my hair in box braids to a client meeting. Beautiful braids took my girl Shanice 8 hours and cost me $300. They were professional, elegant. They made me feel powerful. Mark pulled me aside afterward. "Keisha, you know I love you," he said, voice low like he was sharing a secret. "But the braids are a bit urban for client meetings. Maybe stick with straight hair? You looked great at the Christmas party." Urban. That's code. You know it. I know it. We all know what urban means. I straightened my hair the next day, kept it straight for 2 years. The heat damage still hasn't fully recovered. Then there was the ghetto comment. We were in a team meeting. Someone asked where everyone grew up. Mark went around the room. Bethesda, Arlington, Fairfax. When he got to me, I said Detroit. "Oh," he said, eyebrows raised, grinning like he'd just solved a puzzle. "That explains it. You've got that edge. You from the ghetto part or the nice part?" Everyone laughed. Except me. "I'm from the part where people work hard and take care of their families," I said, voice level. "Just like here." Mark chuckled. "Come on, Keisha, don't be so sensitive. I'm just playing." I smiled. Added it to my mental file. 2 years ago, I finally asked Mark directly about the director pipeline. It was during my annual review. My performance scores were perfect. Exceeds expectations in every category. Client satisfaction through the roof. Revenue numbers that made everyone else look like amateurs. "Mark," I said, "I think I'm ready for the director conversation. I've hit every metric. I've brought in more revenue than anyone at my level. What's the next step?" He leaned back in his chair. Laughed. Actually laughed. "Keisha, come on. Be realistic. You're phenomenal at what you do, but director, that's a different game. You're perfect right where you are. What do I need to do to get there?" He waved his hand dismissively. "Let's just focus on maintaining your current excellence, okay? Keep doing what you're doing." Translation. Stay in your place. 6 months later, they promoted Brett Kowalski to Director of Client Relations. Brett. Brett, who once asked me in front of clients to translate what a client meant by ROI because he sometimes had trouble with financial jargon. Brett, who calls every woman in the office sweetheart. Brett, whose biggest accomplishment last year was not accidentally deleting the shared drive. They gave him a corner office, a 40% raise, and a company car. They gave me a coffee mug that said, "World's Best Manager." I wish I was joking. But the breaking point, the moment I decided I was done playing nice, came 6 months ago. Leadership meeting. 12 people around a conference table. Mark was presenting Q3 diversity metrics because the board was breathing down his neck about our optics. He clicked to a slide showing our hiring numbers. We'd brought on 3 Black analysts that quarter. "We're making progress," Mark said, nodding like he'd personally carried each one across the finish line. Then he lowered his voice, grinned at the room. "But we gotta be careful. Can't have too many of them or the clients get nervous. You know how it is." Everyone laughed. David, the Asian guy, laughed. Sarah, the one other woman in leadership, laughed. I sat there, frozen, pen hovering over my notepad. Mark caught my eye. Winked, like we were in on the joke together. I went home that night and hugged Amaya so tight she squirmed. "Mama, you're squishing me." "Sorry, baby." Just needed a hug. She wrapped her tiny arms around my neck. "Bad day at work?" "Yeah, baby. Bad day at work." She pulled back, looked at me with those big brown eyes that are exactly like my daddy's. "Then quit," she said. "Matter of fact, Miss Rachel says if something makes you sad, you should stop doing it." "It's not that simple, baby girl." "Why not?" "Good question. Why not?" "Because we need health insurance, because we need this apartment, because single Black mothers don't get to just quit and figure it out later. But also, because screw them. Screw Mark and his Confederate flag and his urban comments. Screw Vanguard and their diversity metrics that mean nothing. Screw every mediocre white man who got promoted over me while I trained them." I tucked Amaya into bed that night, kissed her forehead, and made a vow. No more playing nice. I opened my laptop and started researching. Hidden recording apps. The best ones. The most reliable ones. The ones that wouldn't fail me when I needed them most. I downloaded one called Voice Guard Pro. $29.99 a month. Worth every penny. Then I opened a new folder on my encrypted hard drive. I called it Evidence. I started small, emails first. There was the one from 3 years ago where Mark told me to tone down your personality in client meetings. You come across too strong. Maybe let Brett take the lead on the next pitch? There was the performance review from 2 years ago, where he wrote, "Keisha consistently exceeds expectations and demonstrates exceptional leadership qualities, but then recommended lateral development opportunities instead of promotion." There was the all-staff email from last year announcing Brett's promotion with the phrase cultural fit and leadership presence. I had 73 emails that told the same story in different words. "You're great at your job, but you'll never be great enough to sit at our table." Then I went deeper. I requested copies of every performance review I'd ever received, all exceptional, not a single criticism that would justify passing me over for promotion. I pulled promotion records for the last 10 years. 23 people promoted to director level, 0 Black women, 19 white men, 3 white women, 1 Asian man, 0 Black women in 48 years of company history. I printed it all, made backup copies, stored them in 3 different locations, my apartment, my sister's house, and a safe deposit box at the bank. Then I started recording. Every meeting with Mark. Every casual conversation where he said something that made my skin crawl. Every leadership meeting where they talked about diversity like it was a problem to manage instead of a moral imperative. 23 minutes and 14 seconds of Mark telling me Black women don't become directors at Vanguard? That was just the crown jewel. I had hours, days, months of evidence. But I had something even better. Tamra Brooks. Tamra used to be Senior VP of Operations at Vanguard. Brilliant woman. MBA from Wharton. 30 years of finance experience, brought in more revenue than anyone in the company's history. 5 years ago, Mark orchestrated her removal with a performance improvement plan that was pure fiction. She fought it. Quietly. Professionally. With lawyers and evidence and everything by the book. They settled. She signed an NDA. She left, but she never forgot. 3 months before my meeting with Mark, I reached out to her on LinkedIn. Just a simple message. "I'd love to hear about your experience at Vanguard. Coffee sometime?" She responded within an hour. "I've been waiting for this message for 5 years. We met at a Starbucks in Bethesda. She brought a folder 6 inches thick. There are 11 other women," she said, sliding the folder across the table. "Black women who worked at Vanguard, all pushed out or held back, all with stories just like mine, just like yours." I opened the folder. Names. Dates. Documentation. Stories that made my stomach turn. "We have a group chat," Tamara continued. "We call it the receipts. We've been waiting for the right moment, the right person, someone still on the inside who can burn it all down." She looked at me hard. "Is that you, Keisha?" I thought about Amaya. About my daddy. About every time I'd bitten my tongue and smiled and nodded and played the game. I thought about Mark's face in that conference room. That wink. "Yeah," I said. "That's me." The morning after Mark told me black women don't become directors at Vanguard, I woke up at 5:30 like always. Made Amaya's breakfast. Packed her lunch. Braided her hair. But when I looked in the bathroom mirror, something was different. My hands weren't shaking. My chest wasn't tight. I wasn't scared. I was focused. I dropped Amaya at school, kissed her goodbye, and sat in my car for 10 minutes. I listened to Mark's recording one more time, just to make sure it was real, that I hadn't imagined it. "Black women don't become directors here. It's just not how things work at Vanguard." Crystal clear. Every word. I opened the group chat with Tamara and the other women. Typed 5 words. "It's time. Let's move." 12 responses came back within minutes. "I'm ready. Let's do this. Burn it down." I put my phone away. Started my car. Drove to Vanguard like it was any other Thursday. But it wasn't. This wasn't about tears anymore. This wasn't about asking nicely or playing by rules that were designed to keep me out. This was about what happens when the quiet one finally speaks. And when I spoke, the whole building was going to hear me. 3 weeks after Mark's statement, I walked into HR like I was walking into war. Because I was. I'd spent those 3 weeks preparing. Every document triple-checked, every recording backed up in 5 different locations, every word of my statement rehearsed until I could deliver it in my sleep. The HR office is on the 38th floor. Glass walls. Modern furniture. Plants everywhere like they're trying to make you forget you're about to get destroyed by corporate bureaucracy wearing a smile. Vanessa Caldwell's assistant told me to wait. "Miss Caldwell will be with you shortly." I sat in the waiting area for exactly 23 minutes. Not an accident, it's a power play. Make you wait, make you nervous, make you doubt yourself before you even open your mouth. I spent those 23 minutes breathing, thinking about Amaya, thinking about my daddy, thinking about every black woman who'd sat in this exact chair and left with nothing but a severance check and an NDA. Not me. Not today. "Keisha." Vanessa appeared in her doorway, all blonde bob and pastel cardigan energy. Today's cardigan was lavender. She smiled like we were about to discuss weekend brunch plans. "So good to see you. Come on in." Her office smelled like vanilla candles and lies. I sat down in the chair across from her desk. She settled into her ergonomic throne, fingers laced, head tilted in that HR way that's supposed to look compassionate but really just looks practiced. "How can I help you today?" I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I'd like to file a formal complaint against Mark Harrington for racial and gender discrimination. I have evidence." The smile froze. Just for half a second, like someone hit pause on her face. Then it was back, wider, faker. "Oh, wow. That's very serious, Keisha. Why don't you tell me what happened?" I pulled out my phone, set it on her desk, pressed play. Mark's voice filled the room, crystal clear. "Black women don't become directors here. It's just not how things work at Vanguard. You understand." I watched Vanessa's face like I was studying for a test. First came shock, genuine. Couldn't fake it shock. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened slightly, then discomfort. She shifted in her chair, uncrossed and recrossed her legs. Her fingers drummed once on the armrest, then calculation. You could actually see it happen. The wheels turning. The risk assessment. The how do we make this go away math. Finally, fake concern. She leaned forward, arranged her face into something that was supposed to look sympathetic. "Keisha," she said, voice soft and careful like she was talking to a child, "I have to be honest with you. This is concerning. But it's also, and I hope you'll hear me out, it's a bit out of context. Mark is under tremendous pressure right now. The board is pushing for results. Sometimes people say things they don't mean when they're stressed. Out of context." I'd been waiting for that one. "What context?" I said, voice level. "Makes it okay to tell an employee that her race prevents her from advancing?" Vanessa's smile tightened. "That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that Mark has been with this company for 18 years. He's a respected leader. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe—" I slid a manila folder across her desk. Heavy. Thick. Full of receipts. "These," I said, "are my performance reviews for the last 5 years. Every single one rated exceptional or exceeds expectations. Not a single area marked for improvement." Vanessa didn't touch the folder. "These," I continued, sliding over a second folder, "are the promotion announcements for every director-level position filled in the last 5 years. 23 promotions. All went to white men with metrics significantly worse than mine. I've included their performance reviews for comparison." Still didn't touch it. This, third folder, is a collection of emails from Mark Harrington. In this one from February 2022, he tells me to tone down your personality and maybe don't wear your hair like that to client meetings. In this one from November 2021, he suggests I let Brett take the lead on a pitch I'd spent 6 weeks preparing. In this one from June 2023, he tells me I have great instincts for someone from your background. I pulled out one more document. This one I unfolded slowly, making sure she could see every word. And this is a transcript from a leadership meeting 2 years ago. Mark is discussing diversity hiring quotas. Direct quote, "The problem with affirmative action hires is they expect too much, too fast. They don't understand that some doors take longer to open." That's Mark Harrington discussing me and the 3 other Black employees at the time, all of whom have since left the company. The room was very quiet. Vanessa finally looked at the folders, didn't open them, just stared at them like they might bite. "Keisha," she said slowly, "I want to help you. I really do, but you have to understand how these things work. If you push this, if you make this official, it could get very ugly. For everyone. These investigations take months. They're stressful. They're public. People take sides." She leaned forward, voice dropping to almost a whisper. "I've seen this before. Good employees file complaints with the best intentions, and then things get difficult. Maybe your projects get reassigned. Maybe your reviews start to reflect attitude problems. Maybe you're put on a performance improvement plan. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's what happens." There it was. The threat wrapped in concern, the warning disguised as advice. "What I'm suggesting," Vanessa continued, smile returning, "is that maybe we can find another solution. A lateral move to a different department, away from Mark. A special project that gives you more visibility, maybe even a bonus to acknowledge your frustration." She said, frustration, like I'd stubbed my toe, not been systematically discriminated against for 12 years. "I think that would be better for everyone," she finished. "Don't you?" I stood up, collected my folders, put my phone back in my pocket, looked down at Vanessa Caldwell in her lavender cardigan with her fake smile and her corporate playbook that's been protecting mediocre white men since the company was founded. "I don't want a bonus, Vanessa. I don't want a lateral move or a special project or any other consolation prize. I want what I've earned. And if I don't get it here, I'll get it somewhere else." I turned to leave. "Keisha." I looked back. Vanessa wasn't smiling anymore. Her face was stone. "If you push this, it won't end well for you. You need to understand that. This company has resources. We have lawyers. We have ways of handling situations like this. I'm trying to protect you, but I can only do that if you let me." I smiled then. First time all meeting. Not the corporate smile. Not the keep you safe smile. The smile of someone who knows exactly what's about to happen and can't wait to watch it unfold. "No, Vanessa, you're the one who doesn't know how this ends." I walked out. Behind me, I heard her pick up her phone. Heard her say, "We have a problem," before the door closed. Good. Let them scramble. Let them panic. Let them call their lawyers and have their emergency meetings and dust off their PR crisis playbook. They were already 3 moves behind, and they didn't even know it yet. That night, I called Tamara. "I just came from HR," I said. "They offered me hush money and threatened my career in the same breath." "Of course they did," Tamara said. Her voice was calm. She'd been through this before. "Did you record it?" "Every word." "Perfect. Time to activate the network." The network, the receipts, 12 black women with 12 identical stories about the same company, the same system, the same pattern of discrimination dressed up as culture fit. Tamara sent out the signal that night. Within an hour, all 12 of us were on a video call. I'd met most of them individually over the past 3 months, coffee meetings, lunch dates, quiet conversations in the corners of bars where nobody from Vanguard would see us. But seeing all of us together, all 12 faces on my laptop screen, was something else entirely. Monica Stevens, former senior analyst, worked at Vanguard for 8 years, brought in $12 million in new business her last year, asked about promotion to manager, got a performance improvement plan 3 weeks later, asked to resign 4 months after that. Angela Price, former operations manager, 15 years at Vanguard, trained 23 people who all got promoted above her, complained about being passed over, got transferred to a satellite office in Nebraska, quit rather than relocate her family. Simone Washington, former client relations specialist, 7 years, perfect reviews, reported her manager for calling her articulate in a way that made it clear he was surprised, fired 3 months later for insubordination. Story after story. Pattern after pattern, woman after woman, all of us excellent at our jobs, all of us with documentation proving it, all of us pushed out, held back, or forced into silence. Vanguard Financial has been in business for 48 years, Tamara said, her face steady on the screen. In those 48 years, they have promoted exactly 0 black women to director level or above. 0. Out of hundreds of promotions. She pulled up a spreadsheet, shared her screen. In the past decade alone, there have been 3 discrimination lawsuits filed against Vanguard. All 3 involved black women. All 3 were settled quietly with NDAs attached. The company paid out a combined $4.7 million to make those women go away and keep quiet. "How do you know all this?" asked Monica. "Because I was one of them," Tamara said. "They paid me $1.2 million 5 years ago to sign an NDA and disappear. But here's the thing about NDAs. They can't stop you from telling your story if someone else exposes the pattern first." She looked directly at me through the camera. "Keisha still works there. She's not bound by any settlement. And once she goes public, the rest of us can back her up without violating our agreements. We tell our stories. We show the pattern. And the NDA protection crumbles because it's part of a documented conspiracy to hide systemic discrimination." "I talked to a lawyer," Simone added. "She said if we can show a pattern of behavior, multiple women, multiple incidents, over multiple years, it becomes a class action case. And class action cases are public. They can't settle them quietly." Angela nodded. "I've been keeping track. I have internal emails from my time there. Promotion committee notes. Budget allocations. Everything that shows they knew exactly what they were doing and did it anyway." "I have recordings," Monica said. "My boss told me I should be grateful for my job because people like me don't usually make it that far in finance." One by one, each woman shared what she had. Emails documenting discriminatory comments, performance reviews that contradicted dismissal paperwork, photos of all-white leadership teams spanning decades, statistical analysis showing pay disparities. Witness statements from other employees who'd seen the discrimination firsthand but were too afraid to speak up while still employed. By the end of the call, we had enough evidence to fill a database. "This isn't just about Keisha," Tamara said. "This isn't even just about us. This is about every black woman who's been told she's not good enough, not the right fit, not leadership material. Every woman who worked twice as hard and got half as far. Every woman who smiled through the microaggressions and the pay gaps and the stolen promotions because she had bills to pay and a family to feed." She paused, looked at each of us. "We've been collecting receipts for years, individually, silently, each of us thinking we were alone, but we're not alone, and we're done being silent." "So what's the plan?" I asked. Tamara smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "We expose everything. Not just Mark Harrington, not just Vanguard. We expose the entire system that's been protecting men like him for half a century. We show the public exactly how corporate America keeps women like us out of leadership. And we make it so loud, so public, so undeniable that they can't settle it away this time." "They'll fight back," Angela said quietly. "They have money, lawyers, PR teams." "Good," Simone said. "Let them fight. We have something better than money." "What's that?" Monica asked. "The truth. And about 1,000 pages of documentation proving it." I looked at the faces on my screen. 12 women. 12 stories. One pattern. "How do we do this?" I asked. Tamara pulled up a shared document. "We've been preparing for months. Here's the strategy. Phase 1. Keisha files formal complaint with HR. Creates paper trail. Gets them on record downplaying or threatening her. Complete. Phase 2. Keisha sends evidence to company leadership. Creates internal crisis. Forces them to choose between doing the right thing or protecting the status quo. Phase 3. While they're scrambling internally, we go public. Launch a website with all our evidence. Not just ours, we've got documentation from 53 former Vanguard employees who've experienced or witnessed discrimination. Phase 4. We coordinate with media contacts. EEOC filing, legal representation. Turn this from a complaint into a movement. Phase 5. Class action lawsuit. Public pressure. Force systemic change. Timeline? I asked. Phase 2 starts tomorrow, Tamara said. The email goes out at 9 a.m. The website launches simultaneously. By the time they realize what's happening, it'll be too late to stop it. What about our jobs? Monica asked. For those of us who are still in the industry. That's why we're doing this together, Tamara said. They can blacklist one woman. They can't blacklist all of us. And once this goes public, any company that refuses to hire us gets added to the story. Financial firms continue discrimination against women who exposed Vanguard. She looked at me. Keisha, you're still inside. This will get ugly for you first. Are you sure? I thought about Amaya. About my daddy. About 12 years of smiling through disrespect. About Mark's face when he said, "Black women don't become directors here," like it was just a fact of nature. I'm sure, I said. Let's burn it down. The email went out at exactly 9:02 a.m. on a Tuesday. I sent it from my work email. My real account. No anonymity. No hiding. 2. Email protected, email protected, email protected, all directors, board of directors. Subject. Concerns about leadership culture at Vanguard Financial. I hit send and felt my heart kick against my ribs. The email was 3 pages long, professional, carefully worded, each sentence backed up with attached evidence. It opened with Mark's recording. Then it laid out the facts. 0 black women promoted to director level in 48 years. Statistical analysis showing promotion disparities. Documentation of discriminatory comments from multiple leaders. Pattern of retaliation against women who complained. 3 previous lawsuits settled quietly. At the bottom of the email, I included one line. For more information and complete documentation, please visit vanguardexposed.com. The website went live at 9:02 a.m. Tamara had built it over the past month. Clean design, professional layout, nothing that could be dismissed as unprofessional or emotional. Just facts, evidence, Documentation. The homepage opened with a simple statement. Vanguard Financial has systematically discriminated against Black women for 48 years. Here is the proof. Then came the evidence. Recordings, not just mine, 7 different recordings from 5 different women spanning 10 years. Executives saying things they'd never say in public but felt comfortable saying behind closed doors. We need to be careful about diversity hires. They tend to play the race card when things don't go their way. I'm not racist, but clients expect a certain look from leadership. Maybe she'd be happier at a company that's more urban-focused. Email threads. Dozens of them. Promotion committee discussions where qualified Black women were passed over with comments like, not ready, needs more seasoning, cultural concerns. Performance reviews side by side with promotion decisions. Excellence documented in writing, then ignored in practice. Statistical analysis. Charts and graphs showing the promotion gap, the pay gap, the representation gap, all color-coded and sourced and undeniable. Sworn affidavits from 12 former employees, each one telling the same story in different words. Photos, including the one of Mark's Confederate flag sticker that someone had archived before he deleted it. His Facebook post about cancel culture preserved for posterity. And the kicker, a section titled The Pattern that showed how Vanguard's discrimination wasn't isolated incidents but systematic policy, how they'd settled 3 lawsuits quietly, how they'd paid millions to keep women silent, how the same behaviors continued year after year because nothing ever changed. At 9:17 a.m., the site hit 10,000 views. My phone started buzzing. Texts from coworkers. Did you send that email? Holy shit, Keisha. Are you okay? I was at my desk. Hadn't left. Wanted them to see me. Wanted them to know I wasn't hiding. Mark walked past my office at 9:34. Didn't look at me. Face red, jaw tight. Headed straight for the executive elevator. By 10:15, I could hear raised voices from the 42nd floor, muffled through the walls but definitely angry. At 10:47, I got called into an emergency meeting with Vanessa and 2 people I'd never seen before. Lawyers, probably. They had that look. Miss Thompson, one of them said, we need to discuss your email this morning. What about it? I asked. It contains confidential company information. Personnel matters that are protected by. Everything in that email is my personal experience or publicly available information. Nothing confidential. I checked with my own lawyer before sending it, because I had. Tamara had connected me with Natalie Chen, an employment discrimination attorney who specialized in cases like this. She'd reviewed every word. The lawyers looked at each other. The recording, Vanessa started. One-party consent state, I interrupted. Virginia allows recording of conversations with one party's knowledge. That's me. Legal, the website, is not run by me. I don't control its content. I'm aware of it, obviously, but I'm not the administrator. I simply shared a link to publicly available information. Which was technically true. Tamara owned the domain. She'd built the site. I'd contributed evidence, but I wasn't the publisher. They couldn't touch me for that. Miss Thompson, the male lawyer said, leaning forward, you're making very serious allegations. False claims of discrimination can result in defamation lawsuits. We'd hate to see you expose yourself to legal liability. Was that a threat or advice? With lawyers, it's always both. Every statement on that website is documented, I said calmly. Every claim has supporting evidence. I'm not worried about defamation because I'm not lying. This is going to damage the company's reputation, Vanessa said. Her voice had lost all its fake warmth. Stock prices, client relationships, you're hurting innocent people. I'm exposing discrimination, I corrected. If that damages the company's reputation, maybe the company should have thought about that before systematically discriminating against Black women for half a century. At 11:43, VanguardExposed.com started trending on Twitter. Number Vanguard Exposed. People were quoting from the website, sharing the recordings. The story was spreading. By noon, it had 47,000 views. By 12:30, finance Twitter was on fire. This is what culture fit really means. Every Black woman in corporate America has lived this story. The receipts are receipts. This is what documentation looks like. At 1:15 p.m., the first journalist called my desk phone. Miss Thompson, this is Jessica Martinez from Bloomberg. I'd love to talk to you about the allegations against Vanguard Financial. I gave her Natalie Chen's number. My lawyer is handling all media inquiries. 3 more reporters called within the hour. Bloomberg, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. Funny thing about the Post. The reporter who called? My cousin Marcus. He didn't identify himself as family on the call. Professional. But I knew he'd been waiting for this story. I'd given him a heads up 3 days ago. He'd had time to prepare. His article went live at 3 p.m. Vanguard Financial faces allegations of systemic racial discrimination. It included quotes from Tamara, from 2 other women in our network, statements from employment discrimination experts, response from Vanguard's PR team. We take these allegations seriously and are conducting a thorough investigation. The usual corporate non-answer. But Marcus had also gotten comments from former clients, from industry analysts, from other finance companies trying to distance themselves. That's not how we operate here. By 3:30 p.m., the website had 128,000 views. Cable news picked it up. CNBC ran a segment. Allegations of discrimination at major financial firm. My phone was ringing constantly. I stopped answering. At 4 p.m., I got an email from the CEO himself, Richard Vanguard III. Grandson of the founder, barely involved in day-to-day operations but still on the board. Subject: urgent. Meeting request. Miss Thompson, I'd like to speak with you personally about this matter. Would you be available tomorrow morning? I forwarded it to Natalie. She called me immediately. Don't meet with him alone. Don't meet with him without me present. Don't agree to anything without running it by me first. I won't, I promised. At 5 p.m. I packed up my desk and left. People stared as I walked through the office. Some looked sympathetic, some looked angry. Most just looked uncomfortable. Mark was nowhere to be seen. When I got home, Amaya was at the kitchen table doing homework with my sister, who'd picked her up from school. Mama! She jumped up, ran over, wrapped her arms around my waist. Auntie Tasha said you had a big day at work. I did, baby. A very big day. Did you win? I looked at my sister. She'd been following everything, knew exactly what was happening. Not yet, I said, kissing Amaya's forehead. But I will. That night, after Amaya went to bed, I opened my laptop. VanguardExposed.com, 247,000 views. Twitter number Vanguard Exposed, trending at #3 nationally. My inbox, 487 unread emails. Support messages from other Black women in finance. Hate mail from men who thought I was playing the race card. Interview requests. Legal threats. Job offers. Job offers. 3 different financial firms had reached out. We'd love to talk to you about opportunities. I didn't respond to any of them. Not yet. This wasn't about me getting a job somewhere else. This was about changing the system that had pushed out hundreds of women before me. But still, nice to know I had options. My phone buzzed. Text from Tamara. CNN wants to interview us. Tomorrow morning. Are you ready? I stared at the message for a long moment. Was I ready? To put my face on national television? To become the face of this fight? I thought about my daddy. About Amaya. About every Black woman who'd been told she wasn't good enough. I typed back, I'm ready. What they didn't know, what Mark and Vanessa and the entire leadership team at Vanguard didn't know, was that we'd been building alliances for months. Tamara's friend at the EEOC? Not just a friend. Jennifer Morrison, senior investigator, had been building a case against Vanguard for 2 years. She'd been waiting for someone on the inside to give her what she needed to move forward. I'd given her everything 3 weeks ago. The formal EEOC complaint was already filed, already in the system, already assigned to an investigator. By the time Vanguard's lawyers realized what was happening, the federal government was already involved. Can't settle with the feds, can't make them sign an NDA. My cousin Marcus at the Post? He'd been working on a larger investigation into discrimination in the finance industry for 6 months. Vanguard was one of 6 companies on his list. My evidence just moved them to the front page. And then there was Simone's connection at Whitmore Capital, Vanguard's biggest competitor. Simone had been working there for 3 years. She'd become a rising star. And she'd been quietly documenting every client complaint about Vanguard, every account they'd mishandled, every relationship that was vulnerable. We can take half their client base, she'd told us on one of our calls. I have 37 clients who've expressed frustration with Vanguard in the past year. All it takes is one phone call. Given the current situation, we wanted to offer you an alternative, corporate warfare dressed up as client service. But my favorite alliance? The one that broke everything wide open? Brett. Poor, stupid, guilty Brett. 2 weeks after my meeting with Vanessa, I texted him. Need to talk, meet me in the parking garage. Tonight, 10 p.m. He responded in under a minute. Is this about the email? Just be there. The parking garage at 10 p.m. is a horror movie waiting to happen. Concrete, flickering lights, echo of footsteps, empty cars creating shadows. Brett was leaning against his Audi when I arrived. Expensive car for a mediocre director, but that's what happens when you're the right color and gender. He looked terrible. Pale. Bags under his eyes, tie loosened like he'd been pulling at it all day. Keisha. I held up my hand. He stopped talking. I didn't say anything, just stood there, looked at him. 5 seconds. 10. 20. He started sweating. I swear I didn't know. He finally said, words tumbling out. I swear to God, Keisha, I didn't know it was that bad. When Mark offered me the promotion, he said you didn't want it. He said you were focused on Amaya and didn't want the extra responsibility. He made it sound like he was doing me a favor because you'd turned it down. I stayed silent. I should have asked you. Brett continued, voice cracking. I should have talked to you. But I wanted it so bad. I've been passed over before and I just... When did you know? I asked. My voice was quiet. Steady. Brett looked at the ground. When? When did you know Mark was lying? He was quiet for a long time. 4 months ago, he whispered. I overheard him talking to David in the break room. He said, Brett's voice broke. He said they couldn't promote you because clients wouldn't take you seriously. Because you're black. He said it would send the wrong message to have too many in leadership. And you said nothing. I was scared. Brett looked up, tears in his eyes. Real tears. I was scared if I said something, they'd fire me too. I have a mortgage, Keisha. Student loans. I have a daughter, I interrupted. A mortgage. Bills. I'm a single mom. I don't have a spouse's income to fall back on. And I still did the right thing. Brett's face crumpled. He was full-on crying now. Grown man, sobbing in a parking garage, snot running down his face. I'm so sorry, he choked out. I'm so fucking sorry. I knew it was wrong. I knew, but I didn't know how to fix it without destroying my career. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder app. You can't fix the past, I said, but you can fix the future. I held out the phone. Tell the truth, all of it. What Mark said. What you heard, what you knew, and when you knew it. Brett stared at the phone like it was a gun. They'll fire me, he whispered. Probably. I'll never work in finance again. Maybe, or maybe you'll be the guy who did the right thing when it mattered. Your choice. He looked at me. Really looked at me. Saw 12 years of pain and patience and stolen promotions and silent rage. If I do this, he said slowly, will you forgive me? I thought about that. Thought about forgiveness. About whether he deserved it. About whether it mattered. I'll respect you, I said finally. That's more than I can say right now. Brett took the phone. He talked for 11 minutes. He told me everything. How Mark had a list of approved director candidates, all white, all male. How they'd fabricated metrics to justify promoting him instead of me. How Mark had explicitly said I was too black for the role. How the leadership team had discussions about keeping the diversity ratio low so clients wouldn't get uncomfortable. How everyone knew. How everyone stayed silent. When he finished, his hands were shaking. What do you want me to do with this? He asked. Send it to Richard Vanguard, the CEO. Subject line: I can't be part of this anymore. From my work email? Yes. Tonight? Right now. Brett pulled out his phone. I watched him type the email. Attach the video. Hover over send for a solid 30 seconds. Then he pressed it. It's done, he said quietly. Thank you. He looked at me, confusion on his face. For what? For finally choosing to be on the right side. I turned to leave. Keisha? I looked back. For what it's worth, Brett said, you would have been an amazing director. Better than me, better than all of us. I know, I said, and walked away. Brett's email hit Richard Vanguard's inbox at 10:47 p.m. By 6 a.m. the next morning, the entire executive team had watched it. By 8 a.m., Mark Harrington was placed on administrative leave. By 9 a.m., the company-wide email went out. Vanguard Financial is conducting a thorough investigation into allegations of workplace discrimination. We take these matters seriously and are committed to maintaining a respectful and inclusive environment. Corporate speak for, oh shit, we got caught. Natalie called me at 9:30. They want to meet. Today. Bring settlement offer. Already? Brett's confession changed everything. It's internal. It's detailed. It proves Mark discriminated deliberately, with knowledge and planning. It proves the leadership team knew. They're in full panic mode. Good, I said. Let them panic. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Me, Natalie, Tamara, and 6 Vanguard representatives, including Richard Vanguard himself. Before we go, Natalie said, I want you to think about what you actually want. Not revenge, not punishment. What outcome do you want? I'd been thinking about that for weeks. I want the director position. I want back pay for 5 years of being passed over. I want Mark fired, not resigned. I want public acknowledgement of discrimination. And I want systemic change, mandatory diversity training, outside oversight of promotions, protected channels for reporting discrimination. That's a lot, Natalie said. I earned it, I replied. The next 48 hours were chaos. Mark Harrington, placed on administrative leave, hired his own lawyer, issued a statement denying everything, called my allegations politically motivated and an attack on hardworking Americans. His lawyer threatened to sue me for defamation. Natalie sent back a cease and desist. Try it. Discovery will be fun. They shut up after that. Vanessa Caldwell resigned for personal reasons on Thursday morning. The company-wide email was brief. Vanessa Caldwell has decided to pursue other opportunities. We thank her for her service. Translation: We're throwing her under the bus to save ourselves. I felt nothing when I read it. Vanessa had chosen her side. She'd chosen to protect the system instead of the women it hurt. This was her consequence. By Friday, Vanguard's stock had dropped 7%. Not catastrophic, not collapse, but enough to get the board's attention, enough to cost investors money, enough to make the old white men who actually controlled the company realize this wasn't going away quietly. The media coverage intensified. CNN ran a full segment. Is corporate America's diversity problem worse than we thought? Forbes published an opinion piece. Vanguard financial scandal reveals what many Black women already know. LinkedIn was on fire. Black professionals sharing their own stories. Number Vanguard exposed, becoming a rallying cry for everyone who'd ever been told they weren't the right fit. Other companies started getting nervous. 3 major financial firms announced comprehensive reviews of their diversity and promotion practices, not because they wanted to, because they were terrified of being the next Vanguard. My inbox was flooded. Support, hate, interview requests. Job offers 15 now, including one from a Fortune 100 CEO who wrote personally, "Your leadership is exactly what we need." But the most important message came from Jennifer Morrison at the EEOC. We're expanding the investigation. Based on your evidence and 4 additional complaints that came in this week, we're looking at pattern and practice discrimination. This is now a systemic case. Pattern and practice. Those were magic words. It meant the EEOC wasn't just investigating individual complaints. They were investigating whether discrimination was baked into Vanguard's entire system. That kind of investigation could take years, could result in consent decrees, could force the company to completely restructure its hiring and promotion practices under federal oversight. That kind of investigation made companies desperate to settle. On Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Natalie, they want to meet. Emergency board meeting Monday morning. They're bringing a settlement offer. What kind of offer? They wouldn't say. But Richard Vanguard himself called. He sounded. She paused, scared. Good. Let him be scared. That weekend, I didn't check the news, didn't look at Twitter, didn't read the articles or the comments or the hate mail. I took Amaya to the park. We fed the ducks. She told me about her friend Sophia who'd shared her cookies at lunch, about her teacher who said her drawing of our family was beautiful. She asked me if I was still sad about work. No, baby, I said, watching her throw breadcrumbs to the ducks. I'm not sad anymore. Did the mean people say sorry? Not yet, but they will. What if they don't? I pulled her close. Then Mama will make sure they can't be mean to anyone else ever again. She thought about that. Like a superhero? Exactly like a superhero. On Monday morning, I put on my best suit. Black. Tailored. The one I'd bought for the director position interview I never got. Amaya watched me get ready. You look pretty, Mama. Thank you, baby. Are you going to work? Yes. Are you going to fix it? I looked at her. 6 years old. Big brown eyes, full of trust that her mama could fix anything. Yes, I said. I'm going to fix it. Natalie picked me up at 8 a.m. Tamara met us in the lobby. The three of us rode the elevator to the 42nd floor in silence. The boardroom was full. Richard Vanguard. 5 other board members. 3 lawyers I didn't recognize. The interim head of HR, a black woman, I noticed brought in to show they were serious about change. Too little, too late, but noted. We sat down across from them. Richard Vanguard looked older than his photos. Tired, lines around his eyes that hadn't been there in the press releases. Miss Thompson, he started, thank you for meeting with us. We've spent the weekend reviewing the situation, and we'd like to... Before you start, Natalie interrupted, my client has some requirements for any settlement discussion. She slid a folder across the table. Richard opened it. His face went pale. These are our terms, Natalie continued. Non-negotiable. All of them. Accept them, or we proceed with the EEOC investigation, the class action lawsuit we've already prepared, and daily media interviews detailing every piece of evidence we have. She leaned forward. And we have a lot of evidence. The room was very, very quiet. Richard looked at me. Miss Thompson, we're prepared to offer you... No, I said. You're not offering me anything. I'm telling you what I'm taking, and you're going to give it to me. Or I'm going to take down this entire company and build something better from the ashes. I smiled. Your choice. Richard Vanguard cleared his throat, adjusted his tie, looked at the folder Natalie had slid across the table like it contained a death sentence. Which, for all practical purposes, it did. Miss Thompson, he said again, trying to recover his composure. We acknowledge that there have been issues with our promotion practices, issues that we take very seriously, which is why we're prepared to offer you. I don't care what you're prepared to offer, I said. My voice was calm. Level. The voice I'd perfected over 12 years of swallowing rage. I care about what I've earned, what you've stolen from me, and what you're going to do to make it right. One of the lawyers, gray suit, silver hair, probably costs $800 an hour, leaned forward. Miss Thompson, we understand you're upset, but let's discuss this reasonably. Vanguard Financial is prepared to make you a very generous offer. I'm listening. Richard pulled out his own folder. Opened it with hands that shook just slightly. We're offering you the Director of Operations position. Effective immediately. With full salary and benefits commensurate with the role. I waited. We'll provide back pay for the last 5 years, calculated at the director-level salary you should have been earning. That's approximately $480,000. Still waiting. We'll issue a public apology, acknowledging that our promotion processes have not always been equitable and committing to doing better going forward. And? Natalie prompted. And we'll implement mandatory diversity and inclusion training for all leadership, quarterly reviews of promotion practices, an independent committee to oversee hiring decisions for director level and above positions. Richard looked up. And Mark Harrington will be terminated. Immediately. Effective today. He slid the folder across. This is all in writing, a formal offer letter, everything I just described. I looked at the folder. Didn't touch it. That's it? I asked. Richard blinked. Yes. That's our offer. Your offer, I said slowly, is to give me the job I earned 5 years ago, pay me a fraction of what you stole from my future, say sorry, and make some promises about doing better. It's a very generous— No, I interrupted. It's the bare minimum. It's what you should have done 5 years ago. It's what you should have done when Monica Stevens filed her complaint, when Angela Price was forced to transfer to Nebraska, when Tamara was pushed out with a fake performance improvement plan. I leaned forward. You think this is generous because you're used to black women accepting crumbs and saying thank you. But I'm not accepting crumbs. Not anymore. Miss Thompson, the lawyer said, you're in no position to. I'm in every position, I said. Want to know why? I pulled out my own folder. Thicker than theirs. Heavier. This is the class action lawsuit we've already drafted. 12 plaintiffs, 53 supporting affidavits, documentation of systemic discrimination spanning 48 years. We file this, it becomes public record. Every piece of evidence, every recording, every email, every settlement you've tried to hide. I slid over a second document. This is a timeline of media appearances we have scheduled for the next month. CNN, NBC, 60 Minutes. Every major financial publication. We're prepared to make this the story of the year. The face of corporate discrimination in America. Third document. This is a letter from Jennifer Morrison at the EEOC. They're investigating you for pattern and practice discrimination. That's a federal investigation. It can take years. It can result in consent decrees that control every hiring and promotion decision you make for the next decade. Under federal oversight, with penalties for non-compliance. Fourth document. And this is a list of your top 30 clients. With contact information. Simone Washington at Whitmore Capital is prepared to reach out to each one personally. Offer them alternative services. At a discount. While your company is embroiled in federal investigation and lawsuit, I sat back. So no, Richard. I'm not in no position to make demands. I'm in the only position that matters. You need me to make this go away, and I'm the only one who can. The room was dead silent. What do you want? Richard asked quietly. First, I said, Mark's severance. Revoked. Completely. He doesn't get a golden parachute for decades of discrimination. He gets nothing. That's we can't. You can, Natalie said. Termination for cause. Discrimination is cause. Your own documentation proves it. Second, I continued, a public statement. Not a vague apology about doing better. A specific acknowledgement that Vanguard Financial has systematically discriminated against black women in promotion decisions for decades. That you've settled previous lawsuits. That you've fostered a culture that enabled this discrimination. And that you're committing to measurable, specific change. Third, a $5 million scholarship fund, the Vanguard Women in Finance Scholarship, for black women pursuing careers in finance, administered by an independent board. First scholarships awarded within 6 months. $5 million, one of the board members started, is less than what you paid to settle 3 previous discrimination cases, I said. And tax deductible. You'll get it back. But more importantly, you'll show you're actually serious about change instead of just trying to protect your stock price. Fourth, independent oversight of all director-level promotions for the next 5 years. Outside auditor reviews your processes quarterly, reports to the board and the EEOC. You don't get to police yourselves anymore. Fifth, I want a seat at the table when you rebuild your diversity and inclusion programs. Real programs, with teeth. With accountability, with people who actually care about more than just checking boxes. I looked at each board member. Saw the calculations happening, the fear, the resistance, the slow realization that they had no choice. And all of this, I finished, in writing. Signed by every person in this room. Filed with the court, made public. No NDAs, no confidentiality clauses. Everything transparent. And if we agree? Richard asked. Then I call off the dogs, the website comes down. The interviews get canceled, the lawsuit gets withdrawn. We work together to make Vanguard the company it should have been all along. And if we don't, I smiled. Then I burn it down and dance in the ashes. And every other company in America learns what happens when you treat black women like we're disposable. Natalie leaned forward. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, the lawsuit gets filed, the interviews go live, and Keisha becomes the face of every black woman who's ever been told she's not good enough. We stood up. One more thing, I said at the door. Whatever you decide, I'm going to be fine. I have 15 job offers, 3 of them from your competitors. I don't need Vanguard Financial. I looked directly at Richard. But Vanguard Financial needs to do the right thing, for once, because if you don't, you'll be remembered as the company that chose discrimination over decency, and that stain never washes off. We walked out. In the elevator, Tamara squeezed my hand. That was perfect, she whispered. That was necessary, I replied. 22 hours later, Richard Vanguard called. We accept, all of it. Everything you asked for. In writing? Natalie asked. Being drafted now. You'll have it by end of business today. Mark's severance? Revoked. The scholarship fund? Approved by the board. $5 million. We'll announce it at the same time as the public statement. When? Thursday. Press conference. We'd like you to be there. As our new director of operations. I closed my eyes. Breathed. I'll be there, I said, but not as your redemption story. As your accountability. Understood, Richard said quietly. And Miss Thompson? For what it's worth. I'm sorry. Truly sorry. This should never have happened. You're right, I said. It shouldn't have. Make sure it never happens again. I hung up. Looked at Natalie and Tamara. We won, Tamara said, tears in her eyes. No, I said. We started winning. The real work begins now. They fired Mark Harrington on Wednesday morning. I know because I was the one who was given his office. My office now. Director of Operations. Corner office. 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The same city that had glowed orange that Thursday evening when Mark told me black women don't become directors at Vanguard. Funny how the view looks different when you're on the winning side. Security called me at 10:15 a.m. Miss Thompson, Mr. Harrington is in your office collecting his personal items. We wanted to let you know. Thank you, I'll head up now. I took my time. Let him sweat. Let him pack his things knowing I was coming. When I walked in, he was throwing files into a cardboard box. His face was red, not embarrassment red, rage red. The kind of red that comes from a white man who's never been told no in his entire life, suddenly facing consequences for his actions. He looked up when I entered. His eyes were wild, dangerous. Come to gloat? He spat. I didn't answer. Just stood in the doorway. My doorway now. Watching him dismantle the office he'd built on the backs of women he'd stepped on. You think you've won, he said, slamming a framed photo into the box. You think you're some kind of hero, but you know what you really are? I waited. You're a diversity hire who played the race card because you couldn't handle the fact that you're not actually good enough. You manipulated the system. You weaponized your. My what, Mark? I asked quietly. My blackness? My gender? The facts? This is bullshit, he shouted. The windows rattled. I built this department. I brought in millions. I dedicated 18 years to this company. And they threw me away because you recorded a private conversation and twisted my words. Black women don't become directors here, I quoted. Those were your exact words. Which part was twisted? He stopped. Stared at me. The anger in his face slowly morphing into something uglier. Something desperate. You bitch, he hissed. You entitled, manipulative bitch. You think you've won? This place will eat you alive. They'll smile to your face and sabotage you behind your back. You'll never fit here. You'll never be one of them. And when you fail, when you inevitably fail, everyone will say it's because you weren't qualified. Because you only got this job because of a lawsuit. I smiled then. Small. Controlled. The smile of someone who knows something you don't. Say it louder, Mark. What? I held up my phone. Recording light blinking. I said, say it louder, for the recording. Tell me again how I'm a bitch, how I don't fit, how I weaponized my race. Let's get it all on record. His face went white. Then red, then purple. He lunged. Actually lunged for my phone like an animal going for food. I stepped back. He stumbled. Caught himself on the desk. Security, I said calmly into my phone. Mr. Harrington is attempting to assault me and destroy evidence. I need immediate assistance. They were there in under 90 seconds. 2 guards, professional, efficient. Mr. Harrington, one of them said, we need you to leave the premises, now. I'm packing my things, Mark shouted. I have a right. You have the right to leave peacefully or be escorted out forcefully, the guard interrupted. Your personal items will be boxed and shipped to your home address. This is my office. No, sir. This is Miss Thompson's office. You no longer work here. They took him by the arms. Not rough. Not gentle. Just firm. The way you handle someone who's crossed a line they can't uncross. Mark looked at me as they walked him toward the door. His eyes were wet now, tears mixing with rage. You'll regret this, he said. Voice breaking. Everyone will know what you did. Everyone will know you're a what, Mark? I asked. A black woman who refused to accept discrimination? A mother who taught her daughter to fight for what's right? A director who earned her position despite men like you? He opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. No words came out. Goodbye, Mark, I said. I'd say it's been a pleasure, but we both know that would be a lie. They took him to the elevator. I followed. Stood in the hallway. Watched the numbers light up as the elevator descended. Through the glass walls, I could see him. He was crying. Full-on crying, shoulders shaking, hands over his face, grown man tears. The kind of tears men cry when they realize they're not special anymore. Not protected, not above consequences. The elevator reached the ground floor. The doors opened. And Mark Harrington walked out of Vanguard Financial for the last time. I didn't smile, didn't celebrate, just watched the doors close. Then I turned around and walked back to my office. My nameplate was already on the door. Keisha M. Thompson, Director of Operations. I ran my fingers over the letters. This was just the beginning. 6 months later, I'm sitting in the corner office on the 42nd floor. The nameplate on my door still makes me pause sometimes. Keisha M. Thompson, Director of Operations. Like I have to remind myself it's real, that I actually won. But I did. The office is different now. I took down Mark's golf photos and Duke memorabilia, replaced them with art from black artists, a photo of Amaya on my first day, a framed copy of the Washington Post article that started it all, and on my desk, centered where I can see it every day, a copy of the scholarship fund announcement. The Vanguard Women in Finance Scholarship, $5 million endowment, supporting Black women pursuing excellence in financial services. The first recipient, Jasmine Carter, starts at Spelman next fall. Full ride. Plus a summer internship here at Vanguard. With me, I met her last month. Brilliant kid, wants to be a CFO by 35. Reminded me of myself at that age, hungry, determined, refusing to let anyone tell her what she can't do. How does it feel, she asked me, to have actually changed things? I thought about that. About what's changed and what hasn't. Vanguard's stock recovered. Took about 3 months, but it came back stronger. Turns out investors and clients actually like companies that walk the walk on diversity instead of just talking about it. We picked up 6 new major accounts specifically because of our commitment to equitable leadership. Funny how doing the right thing is also good business. The scholarship fund made national news. Other companies started similar programs. Started reviewing their own promotion practices. Started asking uncomfortable questions about their own culture fit standards. We didn't just change Vanguard. We changed the conversation. But the bigger victories? The ones that matter most? Amaya's college fund is fully funded. She's going to go to any school she wants without worrying about money. Without having to work 3 jobs like I did. Without having to choose between her dreams and her survival. Last week she told me she wants to be a businesswoman like Mama. Made my heart nearly explode. As for the people who made my life hell, Mark Harrington, last I heard, and I hear things because the finance world is smaller than people think, he's selling insurance in some suburb outside Cleveland. Applied to 17 financial firms, 0 offers. Turns out fired for racial discrimination isn't a great resume line. His LinkedIn still says senior executive in transition. It's been 6 months, Mark. You're not in transition. You're unemployable. Anyone who Googles his name finds the Washington Post article, the CNN interview, the recordings. His legacy isn't the 18 years he spent at Vanguard. It's the 5 words that destroyed his career. Black women don't become directors here. Vanessa Caldwell's LinkedIn says she's taking time for family and personal growth. That's code for no one will hire me. She pops up in my feed sometimes, posting inspirational quotes about resilience and new beginnings. I don't engage, don't need to. Her silence speaks volumes. Brett Kowalski is still here. Got demoted back to senior manager. Lost his corner office, his company car, his director's salary. Someone sent me a video of him crying in the bathroom last month. I didn't watch it. Deleted it immediately. I don't take pleasure in his pain. But I don't feel bad about it either. He made his choices. He's living with the consequences. That's justice, not cruelty. The real victory, the one that makes all of this worth it, is what's happening in the pipeline. 3 Black women promoted to senior manager in the last 6 months, 2 to director level, 1 in another department, 1 in mine. The Independent Oversight Committee is actually doing its job, asking hard questions, demanding documentation, making sure culture fit doesn't become code for looks like everyone else. Is it perfect? No. We've still got work to do. Still got old guards who resist. Still got people who think diversity is a quota to meet instead of a value to embrace. But it's different. It's better. And it's getting better every day. Last week, a young Black woman, new analyst, first month on the job, stopped me in the hallway. "Miss Thompson," she said, nervous but determined, "I just wanted to say thank you. For what you did. For making it possible for people like me to be here and actually have a future." I looked at her. Saw myself 12 years ago. Full of hope and hunger and determination. "Don't thank me," I said. "Just do the work. Be excellent. And when someone tries to tell you that you don't belong, prove them wrong. And keep receipts." She smiled. "Yes, ma'am. That's the real change. Not the policies or the committees or the press releases. It's that young women can walk into Vanguard Financial now and actually believe they have a shot at the top, that their race isn't a ceiling, that their excellence will be recognized and rewarded, that they don't have to smile through disrespect and hope it gets better someday, because someday is today. If you're still here, thank you. Thank you for witnessing this, for hearing my story, for understanding what it means to fight for what you've earned. If you've ever been told you're too much or not enough, too loud, too quiet, too Black, too female, too anything, this one's for you. They wanted me to shrink. I expanded. They wanted me to quit. I stayed and took over. They wanted me to disappear. I became impossible to ignore. Keep your receipts. Keep your peace. Keep your power. Because one day, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, they'll say the quiet part out loud. And when they do, you'll be ready. I know I was. So here we are. End of the story. Beginning of the movement. If you've made it this far, you're one of us. You understand what it means to fight when the system is rigged, to smile when you want to scream, to work twice as hard for half the recognition. If you've ever been told you're too much or not enough, too loud, too aggressive, too emotional, too ambitious, not experienced enough, not polished enough, not the right fit, I need you to hear this. They're lying. You're not too much. You're exactly enough. More than enough. The problem isn't you, it's them. It's systems built to keep certain people in power and everyone else fighting for scraps. But here's what they don't know. We're done fighting for scraps. Let me tell you what I learned in 12 years of corporate warfare. Keep your receipts. Document everything. Every comment, every email, every promise that gets broken, every time they promote someone less qualified, every microaggression, every joke that isn't funny. Save it. Back it up. Store it in multiple places, because one day, and that day will come, you'll need proof that you're not crazy, you're not imagining it, you're not being too sensitive. Keep your peace. Don't let their disrespect live rent-free in your head. Don't let their racism, their sexism, their mediocrity steal your joy. Go home. Hug your babies. Call your mama. Remember who you are when you're not performing for people who'll never appreciate you. Your peace is your power. Keep your power. Don't give it away to make them comfortable. Don't shrink. Don't apologize for your excellence. Don't let them convince you that speaking up is divisive or not a team player. Your voice is your weapon. Use it. Because I promise you this, one day, they'll say the quiet part out loud. They'll get comfortable. They'll forget you're listening. They'll show you exactly who they are. And when they do, you'll be ready. Now I want to hear from you. Drop in the comments, what's the worst thing a boss ever said to you? Let's expose these patterns together. Let's show everyone watching that this isn't isolated incidents, it's systemic. And tell me, which city are you watching from? I want to know where my community is, where my sisters are, where the people who refuse to accept less than they deserve are building their empires. Hit that like button if this story resonated with you. Hit subscribe because we're building something here, a community of people who don't just survive corporate America, we transform it. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Your colleague who's thinking about speaking up, your daughter who's entering the workforce, your sister who's been carrying this weight alone. We don't just survive, we thrive. And we protect our own. See you in the next one, where we'll talk about what happens when underdogs become unstoppable.